Hey guys, tonight we're going on a journey back in time to a battle that would leave its mark on history. Picture the scene. The air is thick with tension. The cries of soldiers echo through the valley, and the ground trembles beneath the weight of heavy footsteps. The Israelites are locked in a desperate struggle against the Ammonites, a formidable enemy that has set its sights on the land promised to God's people. But in the midst of this chaos, something truly extraordinary is about to happen. Something that will change the course of the battle forever. You stand beside the brave leader, Joshua. His face is set with determination. His eyes scanning the battlefield, knowing that victory depends not only on their strength, but on the strength of their faith. The sun is beginning to set, but the fight rages on. There is no time to rest, no time to regroup. The Ammonites are relentless, and the Israelites are exhausted. The sun, which has provided much-needed warmth and light, is now sinking slowly behind the horizon. The end of the day looms, and with it, the possibility of losing precious daylight needed to finish this battle. You can almost feel the heat of the day and the weight of the weapons in your hands. You see the sweat on Joshua's brow, his hands gripping his sword, his breath coming out in short, quick bursts. The Israelites are weary, their energy running low, but they press on. Their faith in God, their belief in the mission, fuels their determination. But there's something different about Joshua tonight. His mind is not only on the fight, but on the day's end. He knows that without more time, victory will slip away from them. The horizon is glowing with the last rays of daylight, but the battle is far from over. You see Joshua's gaze shift toward the setting sun, and then, without hesitation, he lifts his voice to the heavens. His prayer is loud, powerful, and desperate. It's a cry for help, a plea for the day to be extended so that the Israelites might finish the battle they've started. The air is still, as if the earth itself is holding its breath, waiting for what's next. And then, something miraculous happens. The very thing that no one could have predicted. Something far beyond human power. Joshua's prayer is answered. The sky shifts, and for a moment, time itself seems to stand still. The sun does not set. The light remains hanging in the sky as if it has been frozen in time. In this moment of sheer wonder, you feel a sense of awe and disbelief. This is no mere coincidence. This is divine intervention. You witness firsthand how God's power works in the most desperate of moments, where faith can move mountains, or in this case, freeze the sun. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The sun hangs in the sky, unmoving, almost as if it too is caught in a trance. You can feel the air thick with suspense, the kind of moment when everything changes. And yet, it hasn't quite sunk in yet. Joshua stands there, his arms lifted towards the heavens, his eyes closed in intense prayer. This isn't just any prayer. It's the kind of prayer that comes from a deep place of desperation, knowing that the fate of his people rests on this very moment. You hear his words in the stillness of the battlefield, as if the universe itself is leaning in to listen. O Lord, make the sun stand still. It's not a request he makes lightly. It's a plea for time, for divine intervention, for an opportunity to finish what has been started. The soldiers around him, though weary and fighting with all they have, now look up in astonishment as the sun remains perfectly still in the sky. There is a collective intake of breath, and for a split second, you wonder if it's all a dream. Surely, no one has ever seen such a thing. Joshua's voice doesn't waver. His faith is unshaken, even in this impossible request. The Israelites, standing at attention around him, seem to find new strength in his words. Perhaps it's the knowledge that their leader trusts in God's power so fully, or perhaps it's the miracle unfolding before their eyes. Either way, it's as if a spark of hope ignites in the hearts of the soldiers. The battle, which seemed to be slipping away, is now within their grasp. You can see the relief in their faces, even as they continue to fight. With the extra time gifted by the Lord, they push forward with renewed vigor. It's as if the sun itself has become their ally, providing them with the light they need to defeat their enemies. You wonder what it must be like to fight under such conditions. The fear of losing the battle is gone. Now, there is only the certainty of victory. But it wasn't just the sunlight that changed in that moment. Joshua's prayer wasn't just about extending daylight. It was about invoking the power of God to turn the tide of war in their favor. The Ammonites, who thought they were so close to victory, now realize that something supernatural is at play. The earth itself is bending to the will of the Israelites, and the gods they worship can't offer them this kind of power. As you watch the battle unfold, you can almost feel the weight of the day's events pressing down on you. It's one thing to hear about miracles. It's another to witness them firsthand. Joshua's faith has opened the door for something greater than human understanding, something that will be told for generations to come. It's a reminder that faith isn't just a passive belief. It's an active trust in God's power, no matter how impossible the situation seems. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You can feel the air heavy with anticipation, as if time itself has frozen at this very moment. The sun remains suspended in the sky, not moving, not shifting. You look up, and it's almost impossible to believe what you're seeing. This isn't something that can be explained by science, not a natural phenomenon, but a true miracle. The battlefield now stands in silence, as if everyone is waiting for what will happen next. And then, it finally comes. Joshua doesn't take his eyes off the sky, his arms still raised, his gaze unwavering. He knows that this miracle isn't just for him or the Israelites, but a sign, a divine intervention to demonstrate God's power and his faithfulness to his people. The Israelites around him look up in awe and disbelief, but in their eyes, there is a renewed sense of hope. They realize that this victory won't be because of their own strength, but because of the power of God. This miracle didn't just make the sun stand still. It extended time itself, allowing the Israelites to continue fighting in the daylight. You can almost feel the shock and awe among the soldiers as they witness this phenomenon. The sun, which should be sinking below the horizon, remains hanging in the sky. Everything feels like it's frozen in place. A world where nature itself is bending to the will of God. The warriors' fatigue begins to fade, replaced by a newfound strength as they press on. The Ammonite soldiers, who had been so certain of their victory, now realize that something far beyond their understanding is at play. The earth itself seems to be working in favor of the Israelites, and their gods cannot offer them such power. Their morale begins to falter as they witness the inexplicable, the very sun itself defying nature, and they feel the tide of battle turning against them. As you stand there, witnessing the unfolding miracle, you are filled with a sense of awe and reverence. It's one thing to hear about miracles. It's another to witness one with your own eyes. This is not a story from a book. This is real. Joshua's faith has opened the door to something greater than human understanding, something that will be passed down through generations as a testament to the power of God. At that moment, you realize that this miracle is not just about the Israelites winning a battle. It's about God showing His presence in their lives, reminding them that He is always with them, guiding them, and strengthening them. The sun standing still is a tangible sign that, in times of crisis, when everything seems hopeless, God is right there, intervening, providing what's needed. You can feel the shift in the atmosphere. The Israelites, once struggling under the weight of exhaustion, now fight with renewed vigor. They no longer see themselves as alone in this battle. With the sun still hanging above them, they press on, knowing that they are fighting not only with their strength, but with the divine power of God at their backs. They know that the battle will be won, not by their own might, but because God is on their side. And in that moment, you realize that this miracle is not just a historical event. It is a reminder for all of us that faith is not passive. It is an active trust in God's power, even in the most impossible of situations. Joshua's prayer was answered, and the Israelites' victory was sealed by divine intervention. The sun remained suspended in the sky, casting an almost surreal light over the battlefield. The Israelites, once weary and close to despair, are now invigorated, fighting with an energy they didn't know they had. The miracle of the sun standing still has lifted their spirits, and with each passing moment, they grow more confident. Their eyes are filled with a renewed sense of hope, a belief that victory is within their grasp. You watch as the battle intensifies, the Israelites pushing forward with renewed strength. The Ammonites, once confident in their ability to overpower the Israelites, are now visibly shaken. They can't explain what's happening. How is it that the sun has not set? How is it that the Israelites continue to fight as though they are undaunted by exhaustion? This is no longer a mere battle of weapons. This is a spiritual battle, a contest between the power of the God of Israel and the gods of the Ammonites. You see the Ammonite soldiers falter, their formations breaking down as confusion spreads among them. They glance up at the sky, noticing the same strange phenomenon. Some of them even begin to retreat, unsure of what to do. They had thought the Israelites were on the verge of collapse, but now they see that God is with them, and that changes everything. Joshua stands at the front of his army, leading the charge with his sword held high, his faith unwavering. His prayer has been answered, and now it's time to finish what they started. The Israelites follow his lead, their movements coordinated, their strikes precise. It's as if the miracle has given them not only more time, but more power, more determination to see this battle through to the end. You feel the intensity of the fight, the clash of weapons, the shouts of the warriors, the rush of adrenaline. But through it all, there's a sense of calm, the knowledge that the battle is in their favor. You can sense it in the air, the divine presence that is making all the difference. The sun continues to hang high, casting a golden light over the battlefield, almost as if it's blessing the Israelites in their struggle. And then, the turning point comes. The Ammonites, having fought valiantly but now utterly demoralized, begin to retreat in earnest. Their formations scatter, and the Israelites push forward, overwhelming the remnants of the enemy forces. The miracle of the sun, standing still, has allowed the Israelites to finish what they started, and the Ammonites are left with no choice but to flee. You watch as the Israelites give chase, their victory nearly certain. The sun, still hanging in the sky, seems to be the final sign of their triumph. It is as if God Himself is declaring that this battle belongs to the Israelites, that this victory is His gift to them. The Ammonites, once so sure of their power, are now nothing more than a defeated foe, running from the inevitable. And in that moment, you realize the magnitude of what has just happened. This was not just a battle fought with swords and shields. It was a battle fought with faith, with trust in God's power to do the impossible. The miracle of the sun standing still was not just a sign of God's power over nature. It was a sign of His commitment to His people, His willingness to intervene in the most desperate of circumstances. The Israelites have won. The battle is over, and victory is theirs. But more than that, they have witnessed firsthand the power of God to change the course of events, to make the impossible possible. This moment will be remembered for generations to come, not just as a military victory, but as a testament to the faithfulness and power of the God they serve. You feel the triumph in your chest as the last of the Ammonite forces flee from the battlefield. The Israelites are victorious, and with that victory comes a deeper understanding of God's power. They are not just conquerors, they are witnesses to a divine miracle that has forever altered the course of their history. And as the sun begins to set at last, after what feels like an eternity of light, you can't help but reflect on the incredible journey you've just witnessed. It's a reminder that, no matter how impossible a situation may seem, with faith, all things are possible. As the sun begins to set, finally resuming its natural course, there's a strange stillness in the air. The battlefield, once filled with the sounds of clashing weapons and desperate cries, now falls silent, except for the wind rustling through the grass. The Israelites stand victorious, their enemies scattered, their faith confirmed. The sun's light is no longer a miracle, but a reminder of the power they witnessed, an unspoken acknowledgement that God had been with them, that He had intervened in their battle, and that their victory was not just a result of strategy or strength, but of divine providence. Joshua stands tall, watching as his soldiers regroup. Their faces, once full of fear and exhaustion, now shine with the glow of triumph. The weight of the battle seems to lift from their shoulders. They've done it. They've won. And yet, despite the victory, Joshua's expression is one of solemn reverence. He knows that this moment isn't about celebrating their strength. It's about giving thanks for the miracle that allowed them to win. He looks up, his heart filled with gratitude, knowing that the sun had stayed in place not because of their power, but because of God's mercy and grace. As the soldiers start to tend to the wounded and the sound of celebration begins to rise, you notice something else. A sense of awe and wonder that hasn't yet left the air. The Israelites didn't just fight a battle, they participated in something much bigger, something that defies human understanding. God had given them not just time, but a clear sign of his might. And now, they are witnesses to that power. The Ammonites, though they fought valiantly, now retreat, broken and defeated. Their forces are in disarray. They will not be able to regroup for some time, if ever. The Israelites have pushed them out of the land, claiming victory in a battle that seemed unwinnable only hours before. Their enemies are no longer a threat. The land is safe once again, and the Israelites are free to continue on their journey. But as you watch the scene unfold, the question lingers in the back of your mind. Was it truly just a coincidence that the sun remained suspended in the sky? Could it have been something that merely aligned with natural forces? Or was it, as Joshua believed, a divine intervention, a miracle? Scholars have long debated this point, some suggesting it could have been an atmospheric anomaly or a natural occurrence that just so happened to coincide with the timing of the battle. Others, however, point to the fact that the event took place after Joshua's fervent prayer, which, to them, is the most compelling evidence that this was indeed a supernatural act of God. Regardless of the explanations, one thing is clear. This moment will be remembered forever. The Israelites now have a story to tell, a story of divine intervention, of a battle that they should have lost but didn't. It will be passed down through generations. A story that reminds them not only of God's power, but of their own need for faith. They will remember the day when time itself stood still for them to claim victory. Joshua, ever the humble leader, gathers his men together. He knows that this victory is not his alone. It belongs to the people of Israel and, most importantly, to God. He leads them in a prayer of thanksgiving, offering praise for the strength and guidance they've received. The soldiers kneel in reverence, joining their voices in gratitude. They know they are part of something much greater than themselves, part of a legacy that will continue long after they are gone. And as the day finally begins to fade, the Israelites take a moment to reflect. They've just witnessed one of the greatest miracles in history, a miracle that defied the laws of nature and changed the course of their future. Their faith has been tested, and it has been rewarded. You too feel a sense of awe as you stand there, knowing that you have witnessed a turning point in history, a moment when the impossible became possible, and a people's faith led them to victory. As the Israelites begin to settle down, a deep sense of reflection takes over. The day has turned into night, and although the battle is over, the memory of the miracle that occurred still lingers in the hearts of every warrior. The question of whether the miracle was truly divine intervention or something more natural might still be up for debate. But for those who fought in that battle, the answer is clear. They witnessed the power of God firsthand, and they will carry that memory for the rest of their lives. Joshua's leadership, too, stands out more than ever. He is not just a military leader, he is the chosen servant of God, the one who has guided his people through the wilderness and now through this victory. His unwavering faith in God has shaped not only the outcome of the battle, but also the way the Israelites view themselves. They are no longer a people wandering in the desert. unsure of their future. They are a nation that has received God's favor, a nation that knows what it means to fight for their land, their people, and their faith. Joshua, as the leader, knows that this moment is more than just a military victory. It is a confirmation of God's promises to his people. This miracle, this sign in the sky, is a reaffirmation that God is with them, guiding them, and fighting on their behalf. The victory is not just a triumph over an enemy. It is a reminder that when they walk in faith, God will be there to protect and empower them. The victory over the Ammonites, sealed by the miracle of the sun standing still, is also a turning point in Israel's history. It marks a moment where the Israelites are no longer just a wandering tribe. They are becoming a powerful nation, one that is equipped with the strength of faith and the power of God behind them. This battle, though fought with swords, is also a spiritual battle. The lesson learned here will resonate for generations, reminding them that true victory comes not only from military might, but from the strength of their belief in God. Joshua, standing at the head of his people, watches as they begin to regroup. The soldiers are no longer just warriors. They are believers. Their faith solidified by the miracle they have just experienced. They are no longer just fighting for survival. They are fighting for something greater, something divine. The battle has changed them. They have seen what happens when they trust in God, and now they are ready to face whatever comes next. It's here that you see Joshua's true character shine. He is not looking for glory or fame. His victory is not for personal gain, but for the people of Israel and for the glory of God. He understands that it was not his sword that won the battle, nor the strength of his army. It was the hand of God, extending time itself, that made the victory possible. Joshua's humility is a testament to his faith, and it's what makes him such an extraordinary leader. As night falls and the camp settles, Joshua gathers the people once more. They have won, but the war is not over. The land they are fighting for is vast, and there are many battles ahead. Yet, this victory has shown them that they are not alone in their fight. They have witnessed God's power, and that knowledge will guide them through whatever challenges lie ahead. In the quiet of the night, as the people of Israel rest, there's a sense of peace that fills the camp. They've been through so much, and they've come out stronger on the other side. The miracle of the sun standing still will forever be a part of their story, a symbol of the power of faith, and a reminder that with God on their side, nothing is impossible. Joshua looks out over the camp, knowing that this victory will not be the last. There are more battles to fight, more challenges to face. But one thing is certain: with faith, with trust in God, they will prevail. And so, as the night falls completely, the people of Israel rest, knowing that they have seen God's power firsthand, and that nothing will ever be the same again. As the days follow the battle, you can sense a noticeable change in the air around the Israelite camp. There is a palpable shift in the hearts of the people, a deeper sense of confidence and unity among them. The victory over the Ammonites, sealed by the miracle of the sun standing still, has given them more than just a military triumph. It has infused them with a new kind of spiritual strength, one that surpasses any victory they could have achieved through their own power alone. In the days that follow, the camp hums with renewed energy. The soldiers, though still weary from the long hours of battle, now carry themselves with a newfound pride. They no longer see themselves merely as survivors or wanderers. They are the chosen people of God, witnesses to a miracle that will be passed down through generations. Every person, from the oldest elder to the youngest child, knows the story of the day the sun refused to set. Joshua, ever the leader, takes this time to remind the people of the significance of what they have experienced. He gathers them around and speaks of the importance of faith in their journey. He tells them that this victory is not just a military one, but a spiritual one. God, he reminds them, fought alongside them, and it was only through his power that they were able to defeat the Ammonites. You feel the weight of Joshua's words as they settle over the people. This is not a time for celebration in excess. This is a time for reflection. They have been given a gift, an extraordinary sign of God's favor, and it's a gift that they must cherish and honor. Joshua speaks of humility, of the need to remain faithful and obedient to God, and of the responsibilities they now carry as witnesses to his power. They are no longer just a people wandering in the desert. They are a nation chosen by God, and with that choice comes great responsibility. But it's not all solemnity. You can sense the excitement too. The people have witnessed something that defies human understanding and that fills them with awe and wonder. As the stories of the miracle spread through the camp, you see the younger members of the tribe listening with wide eyes, their imaginations ignited. To them, the sun standing still is not just a story. It is a moment that defines their identity, their place in history. They are part of something much greater than themselves, something that will shape the future of their people. The next day, as the Israelites prepared to move forward, they gathered together for a solemn but joyous celebration. Joshua leads them in a prayer of thanksgiving, acknowledging that it was through God's grace that they have been given this victory. The people, united in their faith, join their voices in praise, their hearts overflowing with gratitude. You watch the scene unfold, amazed by the unity and strength that this miracle has instilled in the people. They have become more than just a group of warriors. They have become a community bound together by a shared experience of the divine. The lesson of the sun standing still will remain with them, not just as a memory of a miraculous moment, but as a constant reminder of the power of faith. In the days that follow, the Israelites continue their journey, their spirits high and their resolve unshaken. The victory over the Ammonites has shown them what is possible when they trust in God's power. It has reinforced the belief that no challenge is too great, no enemy too powerful, as long as they remain faithful to God. But as the Israelites march forward, there's a deeper realization among them. The miracle of the sun standing still was not just a one-time event. It is a symbol of the ongoing relationship they share with God. Every battle they face from now on will be shaped by this miracle. They are no longer just a group of people trying to survive. They are a people with a purpose, a people with a God who fights for them. Joshua, standing at the head of his people, knows this. He knows that this victory is just the beginning. There will be more battles, more challenges ahead, but with the same faith that they've shown in this moment, they will continue to overcome. And as long as they remain faithful, God will be with them, guiding them every step of the way. As the Israelites continue their journey and their victory over the Ammonites becomes legend, a deeper question begins to linger, one that has been pondered for centuries. Scholars and historians, both then and now, continue to debate the nature of the miracle that occurred that day. Was the sun truly held still in the sky by the power of God, or was it something more easily explained away by natural phenomena? The debate is one that spans across time and cultures. Some scholars suggest that what happened could have been a rare astronomical event, a cosmic alignment that made it appear as though the sun had stopped moving. Perhaps it was a moment when the rotation of the Earth slowed, or some other extraordinary natural event took place that made the sun seem to pause in the sky. Others believe that the story, as recorded in the book of Joshua, is an exaggeration, a tale passed down through generations to explain the miraculous victory of the Israelites over their enemies. But there are those who stand firm in the belief that the miracle was nothing less than divine intervention. To them, there is no need for scientific explanations or theories about natural events. The story of the sun standing still is a testament to God's omnipotence and his ability to defy the laws of nature for the benefit of his people. They point to the faith of Joshua and his prayer as the reason for the miracle. After all, the Bible is filled with accounts of God doing the impossible, parting the Red Sea, healing the sick, raising the dead. Why should this be any different? This divide between natural explanations and divine intervention is not new. It's a discussion that has been taking place for centuries, long before the Israelites ever stepped foot into the Promised Land. In fact, it echoes the larger question of faith versus reason, a question that has persisted throughout history, especially as human beings have sought to understand the mysteries of the world around them. Some argue that by looking for scientific explanations for miraculous events, we risk undermining the power of faith. If we insist on finding natural causes for every miracle, we might be ignoring the very essence of what makes those miracles significant. The miracle of the sun standing still wasn't just about the sun. It was about God's power, his love for his people, and his willingness to intervene on their behalf. Whether or not it can be explained by science doesn't diminish the importance of the event or the faith that surrounded it. Others, however, suggest that God, being the creator of all things, uses the natural world to reveal his power. In this view, a scientific explanation for the event does not negate its miraculous nature. Rather, it shows how God works through the natural world to accomplish his will. In this sense, the miracle of the sun standing still is not a suspension of natural law, but rather a perfect alignment of God's creation in a way that serves his purpose. As you reflect on the story, it's clear that both perspectives have their merits. Whether the event is seen as a divine miracle or a natural phenomenon, the most important takeaway is the impact it had on the Israelites. It reinforced their belief in God's power and His ability to intervene in their lives. The sun standing still was more than just a miraculous event. It was a sign that God was with them, guiding them every step of the way, just as He had promised. And so, the debate among scholars continues, just as it has for centuries. Some will argue for the natural explanations, while others will continue to embrace the supernatural. But in the end, the story of the sun standing still is not just about the science of what happened. It's about the faith that the Israelites had and the belief that, with God on their side, anything is possible. As you sit back and think about this incredible moment in history, you can't help but feel a sense of awe. The sun standing still is not just a scientific anomaly or a legend. It's a reminder that sometimes faith and belief transcend the natural world. Whether or not the event can be explained by science, its impact on the people who witnessed it is undeniable. It changed the course of their history, and it continues to inspire faith in those who hear the story. As the Israelites continue to march forward, the miracle of the sun standing still in Joshua's time becomes a part of their collective identity, passed down through generations. But beyond the borders of Israel, stories of miraculous events that bend or break the natural order have been a recurring theme throughout history, found in many cultures across the world. It's fascinating to consider how the theme of divine intervention through supernatural occurrences transcends cultural boundaries, often with striking similarities to the story of Joshua and the sun. In ancient cultures, the idea that the sun could stop or reverse its course was not unique to the Israelites. Many civilizations held the belief that the sun, a powerful symbol of life and energy, could be manipulated by the gods. For example, in ancient Greek mythology, the sun god Helios was said to drive his chariot across the sky every day, pulling the sun with him. There were stories that the gods could influence Helios, such as when the god Apollo was said to have driven the sun's chariot too close to the earth, nearly burning the planet to ashes. Similarly, in Egyptian mythology, the sun god Ra was thought to sail across the sky in a boat, and at times, he would pass through the underworld during the night. The Egyptians believed Ra's journey could be altered by the will of the gods, and even the setting of the sun was viewed as a mystical, supernatural event controlled by divine forces. What's most striking, however, is how many different cultures across the world have myths that seem to align with the biblical story of Joshua. For instance, the ancient Chinese myth of the sun's flight tells of an emperor who, in times of great distress, calls upon the sun to hold still and give his people more time to prepare for an impending disaster. In some Native American traditions, the sun is believed to pause in the sky during moments of great spiritual importance, when a tribe is facing overwhelming challenges and the spirits intervene to help. These stories across cultures share a common thread: the belief that the sun's movement is not merely a natural phenomenon, but something that can be controlled or influenced by higher powers. Whether it's the gods in Greek mythology, the sun god Ra in Egypt, or the spirits in Native American lore, The idea that divine forces can manipulate the sun serves as a universal symbol of divine intervention in the affairs of humanity. These myths reveal a shared understanding of the sun as not only a source of life, but a powerful symbol of the divine that can be called upon in times of need. The question, of course, is whether these stories are merely symbolic or whether they speak to something deeper. The human experience of feeling small and powerless in the face of nature, yet still possessing the hope and belief that the divine can intervene to save them. The sun, with its life-giving energy, becomes a symbol of the connection between humanity and the divine. And in times of need, it is the sun that can be called upon for help. In a way, these stories across cultures seem to validate the biblical account of Joshua and the sun standing still. They reflect a deep-rooted belief in the possibility of divine intervention, in the power of faith to move mountains, or in this case, to stop the sun itself. Just as Joshua called out to God and the sun remained in place, so too did other cultures invoke their gods and spirits in times of dire need, believing that through their faith, they could influence the natural world around them. So, when we look at the miracle of the sun standing still, we are not just witnessing an event in the history of Israel. We are encountering a universal theme that stretches across time and space, one that shows us that no matter where we are in the world or what culture we belong to, we all share the belief that there are forces beyond our understanding that can intervene in our lives. These miraculous stories, whether in Israel, Greece, Egypt, or among indigenous cultures, speak to a shared human desire for hope, for divine assistance in the face of adversity, and for the belief that the natural world can be shaped by a higher power. As the Israelites march on, they carry with them the memory of this extraordinary event, not just as a historical account, but as a part of a much larger narrative, a narrative that spans across cultures, times, and places, reminding all of humanity that, in the face of the impossible, faith and divine intervention are always within reach. The news of the miraculous victory over the Ammonites spreads quickly, like wildfire across the land. Word of the sun standing still reaches neighboring nations, and the Israelite army, now victorious, gains a reputation that will precede them in the battles to come. But the immediate reaction is one of fear. The neighboring kingdoms, who had once regarded Israel as a wandering people without a permanent home, now see them in a new light. The sun standing still is not just a sign of military victory, it is a powerful, undeniable symbol of divine favor, and it sends a clear message to all who might stand in opposition. You can feel the tension in the air as the Israelites march forward, their heads held high, their faith stronger than ever. They are no longer a tribe of refugees. They are a force to be reckoned with. Their enemies, who once dismissed them as weak or insignificant, now face a different reality. The surrounding nations begin to question the power they've long taken for granted. The mighty gods they worshipped seem insignificant compared to the God of Israel, who can command the sun to stand still. There is a deep sense of awe mixed with fear that fills the hearts of Israel's adversaries. The kings of the neighboring lands, once confident in their strength, now find themselves in a position they've never been in before, uncertain, afraid, and unsure of how to proceed. The story of the sun standing still and of the Israelites' miraculous victory has made them rethink their strategy. In many ways, the battle against the Ammonites was not just a physical confrontation, but a spiritual one. It was not just the might of Israel's army that won the day. It was the belief that they fought with the support of the Almighty. The Ammonites, now defeated and scattered, are left with nothing to show for their effort but shame. Their retreat is not just a tactical loss, it is a symbolic defeat, a collapse of their faith in their own gods. Their soldiers flee, confused and demoralized, unsure of how to explain what has just happened. They had hoped to crush the Israelites, but instead, they've been humbled by the very God they had once dismissed. Meanwhile, the surrounding nations begin to whisper among themselves, wondering if they too might face such a powerful intervention if they oppose Israel. The fear is palpable. The victory over the Ammonites marks the beginning of a new era for Israel, one where their enemies will think twice before confronting them. They are no longer just a ragtag group of wanderers. They are the people chosen by God, with divine power backing them up. In the courts of kings and the halls of ancient palaces, the stories of the sun standing still are told and retold. Some doubt it, of course. Some brush it off as mere superstition or exaggeration. But for many, the story resonates deeply. How can they ignore the fact that a people's faith was rewarded so dramatically? The miracle of the sun standing still forces these neighboring nations to acknowledge the power of Israel's God, a power they can't control or fight against. In this moment, you begin to realize the far-reaching implications of what Joshua and his people have experienced. Their victory is not just a local triumph. It is a message to the world. It is a divine declaration that God's favor rests on Israel, and that no matter the enemy, no matter the challenge, God will fight alongside his people. This is a victory that transcends military conquest. It is a spiritual victory, one that sends ripples throughout the ancient world, challenging every nation that would dare oppose Israel. As Israel continues its journey, the shadow of the sun standing still hangs over them. It's not just a memory of a battle fought and won. It's a symbol of the covenant between God and his people, a covenant that no enemy, no king can break. The enemies of Israel, once certain of their superiority, now face an uncomfortable truth. When Israel stands united in faith, they are unstoppable. The world is watching. The nations are listening, and Israel's faith will continue to grow, as will the recognition of their God's immense power. The miracle of the sun standing still has set the stage for what will come next. A world where Israel, under God's guidance, will rise to greatness. The weeks following the victory over the Ammonites are filled with a quiet, awestruck reflection among the Israelites. The miracle of the sun standing still has become a defining moment, a powerful story that will be passed down through generations. But for Joshua, the victory is not about glory or fame. He understands that the battle was not won by the might of Israel's army or the strength of his leadership. It was won through God's intervention. Joshua's humility shines through as he constantly reminds the people that the true victory belongs to God alone. In the aftermath of the battle, Joshua leads his people in the restoration of their spirits and their relationship with God. He knows that the Israelites are not just conquerors, they are witnesses to a divine miracle, and it is their faith in God that must continue to guide them. Joshua's leadership is not just about military victories. It is about guiding the people toward a life of obedience, faith, and trust in God. He gathers the elders, the leaders of the 12 tribes, and speaks to them about what has just transpired. He tells them that this victory, this miracle, is not just for them, it is for all generations of Israelites. It is a reminder that they are God's chosen people, and that God will always be with them, as long as they remain faithful to Him. Joshua knows that their future success depends on their continued faith and obedience to God's commandments. As the people gather to hear Joshua's words, you can feel the weight of the moment. The Israelites are not just celebrating a military victory, they are reaffirming their covenant with God. This battle is a reminder of the promises God made to their ancestors and of His continued faithfulness to His people. Joshua's role is not just to lead them in battle, but to lead them spiritually, guiding them to a deeper relationship with God. In the years to come, Joshua's leadership will be remembered not only for the battles he won, but for the spiritual foundation he laid for Israel. He will be remembered as a man who trusted in God above all else, who led his people with humility and faith, and who, in the face of adversity, turned to God for guidance. His legacy will live on in the hearts of the Israelites, and his story will continue to inspire future generations. But as Joshua looks back on this miraculous event, he knows that there is still much work to be done. The conquest of the promised land is far from over, and the Israelites will face many more challenges ahead. Yet, with the knowledge that God had been with them in this battle, they now have a deeper understanding of what it means to trust in God's power and to fight with faith. Joshua's leadership is a reminder that faith in God is not a passive belief. It is an active trust in His power, His promises, and His plan. The Israelites are no longer just a group of people wandering in the desert. They are a people with a purpose, a people chosen by God to bring His light into the world. And it is Joshua, more than anyone, who understands the weight of that responsibility. As the Israelites continue their journey, Joshua stands at the forefront, leading them with a steady hand and a heart full of faith. He knows that the road ahead will not be easy, but with God's guidance, there is no challenge too great for them to overcome. The miracle of the sun standing still is not just a story of the past. It is a living testament to the power of faith, and it will continue to shape the future of Israel for generations to come. Joshua's legacy, built on faith and humility, will endure long after his time as leader. His story will inspire countless generations of Israelites, and his unwavering trust in God will remain a shining example of what it means to live a life of true devotion. As time marches on, the story of the sun standing still becomes more than just a tale told around campfires or passed down through generations. It becomes a living, breathing part of Israel's identity, a reminder of their covenant with God, a story that shapes their sense of self and their understanding of the world around them. The miracle is not just something that happened in the past. It is a cornerstone of their faith, a constant reminder that with God, all things are possible. As the generations pass, the story evolves, but the core message remains unchanged. Israel is not a people defined by their military prowess or their wealth, but by their faith. It is their unwavering belief in God's power that sets them apart from the nations around them. This belief is passed down from parent to child, from elder to younger, a constant thread that binds them together. The story of the sun standing still is more than just a battle victory. It is a symbol of the enduring relationship between Israel and God. Over the centuries, as Israel faces trials and tribulations, both external and internal, the story of that day continues to echo in their hearts. It reminds them that, even in the darkest moments, God's power is greater than any challenge they may face. When they are surrounded by enemies, when they are oppressed or conquered, they look back to the moment when the sun stood still and know that they have a God who is capable of miraculous intervention. This legacy of faith is not just a spiritual inheritance, but a practical one. The people of Israel know that their success is not due to their own strength, but to their faithfulness to God. It's a lesson that guides their leaders, their warriors, their families, and their communities. And even as the nation grows and changes, even as new generations come and go, the central theme of their identity remains the same. They are a people who trust in the power of God to deliver them from their enemies and to guide them toward their destiny. Joshua's leadership and the miracle of the sun standing still are foundational to this belief. His faith was not just in God's ability to grant him victory, it was in God's ability to work miracles in the most impossible of situations. Joshua's life and legacy serve as a constant reminder that no matter how dire the circumstances, no matter how strong the opposition, God is always present, always willing to fight for his people. But even as the story continues to inspire the people of Israel, it also invites questions. How does faith work in the real world? Is it simply about waiting for a miracle? Or is it about trusting that God's plan will unfold in his time? The story of the sun standing still raises these questions, and the answers come not in moments of miraculous intervention, but in the day-to-day choices of the Israelites as they live out their faith. It is in their actions, their obedience, and their willingness to trust in God, even when the world around them seems uncertain. The miracle of the sun standing still serves as a powerful metaphor for the way faith works in the life of a believer. Just as Joshua trusted God to stop the sun in the sky, so too must believers trust in God to intervene in their lives, even when the circumstances seem impossible. The story challenges them to live with the same boldness and confidence, knowing that their faith can move mountains or stop the sun in its tracks. As Israel's history continues to unfold, the story of that miracle remains etched in their collective memory. It's not just a part of their past, it's an ongoing source of strength, a reminder of the power of faith and the willingness of God to intervene in the lives of his people. It's a legacy that will continue to guide them as they face new challenges, and it's a story that will continue to inspire all who hear it. And so, as the years pass, the people of Israel hold fast to this miraculous moment. They hold it close in their hearts as they move forward, knowing that their God is with them, just as he was on that fateful day when the sun stood still. They know that as long as they remain faithful, there is nothing that can stand in their way. Joshua's legacy, the legacy of faith, endures through time, a beacon of hope for all who believe that with God, nothing is impossible. Though centuries have passed since the day the sun stood still, the impact of that miracle continues to reverberate. It's not just a story from the Bible. It is a tale that still captivates, inspires, and challenges people to this day. The miracle of the sun standing still reminds us of the power of faith, but it also raises profound questions about how we view the supernatural in our own lives. In modern times, when science has given us explanations for many of the natural phenomena once attributed to divine intervention, the story of the sun standing still might seem like a relic of a bygone era, a story of the past that no longer fits into the framework of our rational world. Yet, there are moments in life when the impossible happens, when things occur that defy logic and understanding, leaving us to wonder if perhaps there is still a place for miracles in our world. For many, the story of the sun standing still isn't just a historical account, but a reminder that miracles still happen in times of great personal struggle. When the weight of the world seems unbearable, people still turn to the same God who answered Joshua's prayer. The sun might not literally stop in the sky today, but people still experience moments of profound divine intervention when they feel as though time itself has been extended for them, when they receive an unexpected answer to a prayer, or when the impossible becomes possible. These personal miracles, while not as grand as the one that occurred on the battlefield of Joshua's time, are no less significant. They speak to the enduring power of faith and the belief that God is still at work in the world. Just as the Israelites knew in their hearts that their victory was due to God's intervention, so too do many people today find themselves in awe of the mysterious and powerful ways in which God continues to work in their lives. The story of the sun standing still also serves as a reminder that faith is not just about waiting for God to act in dramatic ways, but about trusting in His plan, even when things seem uncertain. The Israelites did not know that the sun would stop that day. They did not know how the battle would unfold, but they knew that their faith in God would sustain them, and that no matter what, He would be with them. This lesson is just as relevant today. Faith does not always come with visible signs or dramatic miracles. Often, it is quiet and subtle, found in the everyday moments of life. But the miracle of the sun standing still serves as a powerful reminder that even in the darkest moments, God is there, working behind the scenes, guiding His people toward victory. As modern-day believers face their own battles, whether they be personal struggles, health challenges, or moments of doubt, there is still the same call to trust in God's power. The sun might not stop in the sky, but the same God who performed this miracle in Joshua's time is still present, still active, and still capable of bringing about miraculous change. Joshua's faith in God, his boldness to ask for the impossible, serves as an example for all believers. He was willing to trust in God's power, even when faced with what seemed like an insurmountable challenge. His prayer was not about asking for something small, but about believing that God could move mountains or stop the sun itself for the good of his people. That same faith is available to us today. When facing challenges, we too can call upon God, trusting that he will intervene in his time and in his way. And while we may not always see the sun stand still, we can rest in the assurance that, like the Israelites, we are never alone in our struggles. God's power is as real today as it was on that battlefield, and his willingness to act on behalf of his people remains unshaken. As we go through our lives, we carry with us the legacy of Joshua's faith, the reminder that with God, nothing is impossible. The story of the sun standing still is not just an ancient miracle, it is a living testament to the power of faith, one that continues to inspire and encourage believers to trust in God's limitless power, even when the odds seem insurmountable. As we move through our modern world, filled with uncertainties and challenges, the story of the sun standing still remains an enduring symbol of hope and faith. It transcends time, culture, and even religion. It's a story that resonates with anyone who believes in the possibility of the impossible becoming possible when faith and determination come together. For the Israelites, the miracle of the sun standing still was a divine sign, a supernatural act that demonstrated God's power in a very tangible way. In that moment, the entire nation witnessed firsthand how the power of God could shape the course of history, altering the natural order to serve his will. It was more than just a battle won. It was a sign that God was with them, guiding them and strengthening them for whatever lay ahead. Today, the story still holds that same power for many people. For those struggling with personal battles, whether it be illness, financial hardship, or emotional pain, there's a deep resonance in the idea that, just as God intervened in the past, he can intervene in the present. The miracle of the sun standing still is a reminder that God sees us in our struggles and that with him, all things are possible. However, the significance of this miracle doesn't end with a simple call for divine intervention in times of need. It also speaks to the deeper, often more difficult challenge of trusting in God's timing. In a world where instant gratification is often sought after, waiting for God's perfect timing can be a test of patience and faith. The Israelites didn't know how or when the sun would stop. What they did know was that they had to trust in God's ability to make the impossible happen. This is where the true beauty of the story lies. It's not about receiving a miracle, but about believing in God's ability to make a way where there seems to be no way. It's about acknowledging that God has a plan for us, even when the world around us feels chaotic and uncertain. The Israelites were facing a dire situation, but their faith in God's provision led them to victory, not just in battle, but in their relationship with God. They were reminded that, with him, they were never truly alone. As you think about this, it becomes clear that the story of the sun standing still is as much about trust in God's purpose as it is about his miraculous intervention. It's a call to remain steadfast in our belief that, even when the world seems against us, God's plan is unfolding. His power is not limited by time or space, and he can use any situation, no matter how dire, to fulfill his purposes. In the face of modern-day struggles, the story of Joshua's victory becomes not just a historical account, but a beacon of hope. It reminds us that, no matter what we face, we serve a God who is capable of doing the impossible. Whether it's stopping the sun in the sky or providing a way when there seems to be none, God's power remains unchanged. And this story also serves as a reminder that faith requires action. Just as Joshua prayed and took bold steps forward in battle, we too are called to step out in faith, trusting that God will equip us with everything we need to succeed. The victory in the battle wasn't just about waiting for a miracle. It was about taking action, knowing that God would provide. So, as we move forward, we can carry the story of the sun standing still as a reminder of God's unyielding faithfulness. It's a reminder that no matter how challenging life may be, God has the power to change the course of events, to intervene in ways we can't even begin to comprehend. And that in itself is a reason to keep moving forward with hope and trust. In our own battles, we must remember that God is not only with us during times of great triumph, but also in the quiet moments of doubt and struggle. The sun standing still may have been a moment of divine power, but it is also a symbol of the ongoing relationship we share with a God who is ever present, ever faithful, and always willing to fight on our behalf. As the generations of Israelites move further into their journey, the story of the sun standing still continues to echo in their hearts. It becomes a living symbol of their identity, their relationship with God, and the power of faith in the face of the impossible. The events of that day are woven into the very fabric of Israel's history and culture. It is not just a victory in battle. It is a reminder that no matter how dire the circumstances, God's power can overcome anything. For Israel, the sun standing still is not just a moment frozen in time. It is a defining characteristic of their belief in God's faithfulness. The Israelites, after all, were not just fighting a physical enemy, they were fighting a spiritual battle. They were learning, once again, to trust in the God who had promised them victory and deliverance, no matter the challenges they faced. The miracle of the sun standing still is a perfect example of that trust being rewarded. Joshua's leadership, too, becomes a shining example of what it means to lead with faith. He did not seek glory for himself, nor did he claim the victory as his own. Instead, he consistently pointed the people back to God, acknowledging that it was only through God's intervention that they were able to secure victory. His faith and humility set the tone for Israel's future as a nation that would always be rooted in trust and dependence on God. As you reflect on the story, it's clear that its relevance stretches beyond the Israelites. For anyone who believes, the story offers hope, reassurance, and encouragement. It reminds us that, no matter how uncertain life may seem, God's plan is unfolding behind the scenes, and nothing is beyond his control. The victory over the Ammonites wasn't just a random event. It was a divine appointment, a fulfillment of God's promise that He would always fight for His people. In today's world, where so many people are faced with challenges, struggles, and uncertainties, the message of the sun standing still resonates deeply. We live in a time where instant gratification is often sought after, and miracles seem like relics of the past. But the miracle of the sun standing still is a reminder that even today, God is capable of doing the impossible. It's a call to trust in His timing, to have faith that His plan will unfold in the best way, even if we cannot see it in the moment. As you move forward, carry the message of that day with you. When things seem impossible, remember the Israelites on that battlefield. Remember Joshua's bold faith. Know that the same God who stopped the sun in the sky is the same God who is with you now, guiding you through your struggles. Even when it feels like the battle is too great or that the night is too long, God is there, working behind the scenes, making a way where there seems to be none. As the sun finally began to set that day, the Israelites knew that their victory was not just the end of a battle. It was the beginning of a new chapter in their story, a story where faith would always be their greatest weapon. And for generations to come, the story of the sun standing still would serve as a reminder that, with God on their side, no challenge was too great, no enemy too powerful. And so, as you reflect on the miracle of that day, take comfort in knowing that the same God who halted the sun for the Israelites is the same God who walks with us today. No matter the trials we face, with faith and trust in Him, we too can overcome. As we close tonight's journey, take a deep breath and let the peace of this miracle settle into your heart. The story of Joshua and the sun standing still is a timeless reminder that when we stand firm in our faith, God can move mountains, or in this case, stop the sun itself. Whatever battle you're facing, know that you are never alone. You have the power of faith on your side. And with that, there is nothing that can defeat you. Now, as the night grows quiet and the world slows down, remember that this story doesn't end here. It continues in the hearts of those who believe, in the lives of those who trust, and in the faith that moves us forward each day. May you carry this story with you and find strength in knowing that with God, anything is possible.